Sahoo, if you could please share screen. I'm just giving you the share screen rights.
Okay, you want me to make the complete presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Mr. Burma, I mean, we were together, as I said, that in the last week, and it is kind of a same presentation which I'll be showing. And
So I can see your presentation. You could just go to the slideshow mode.
okay. Now is it fine?
Yes, it is fine.
Okay, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. In fact, a brief introduction was already given by Mr. Prabhat Burma about the various issues and challenges that we face. All of us, I think, whoever are there in the audience, they are aware of the norms, standards, and the difficulties and the challenges. So I would not take much time, but what I'm trying to show you is the different perspective of this policy, meeting the emission norm, why it is required, and what are the difficulties that we are facing, and what is the other side, other side of the this policy. Yeah. So I mean, this is just to start from the basis of the discussion. We know, in one hand, we have maximum number of polluted cities in terms of air pollution. In fact, 6 of the world's 10 most polluted cities are in India. There are 42 critically polluted area and 131 non-attainment cities in India. Non-attainment in terms of air quality, particularly PM10 and 2.5. And if you just look at which are those 42 critically polluted area, you will find them that they are mostly the coal mines, and I mean areas which has a good number of coal mines and thermal power plants around it. And that is how we in our country we have developed, like thermal power plants are located mostly around the thermal coal mine area. So, and they are, coincidentally, they are also the critically polluted areas of the country. Now, thermal power plant play a very, very important role in terms of total emission that takes place in the country, elsewhere in any place. In fact, on a total, in a gross basis, they contribute about 2/3 of emissions that takes place. You know that MOFCC, they notified a stricter emission standard to be achieved by 2025 in a very phased manner. It's been categorized in for A, B, C, and there are different times of retiring, non-retiring, all these things, you know. But this is, I mean, the whole crux of all this discussion that is going on, or this, how can we really meet the standard, whether it is necessary to meet the standard. Is there a different way of meeting this standard? Can we do something about this standard so that it becomes easier for the regulated units like thermal power plants to achieve this standard without compromising the need to meet the electricity demand of the country, because that is also another aspect which must be looked into. And when we see and we talk to people, we see that the efforts to meeting the new standard is rather slow. The target date for the standards are being extended, have been extended, I think at least once or twice. And it looks like that I mean, when we look at the progress of implementation of these standards, we see rather that it's rather slow. And in most probability, many of the plants would miss the target date on which they have to meet the standard. But this time, when this target was extended, it has come with a rider of payment of penalty or environmental compensation. So it's going to be much more trickier than even before. we try to, when we try to see that, we try to look at this this policy of emission control, and we try to see that whether any other policy which can play a role in which can be leveraged for easy implementation of these standards, or ultimately meeting the ultimate objective of meeting the ambient air quality. Now, well, these are all general statistics you must be all aware of. I mean, I don't think that we need to discuss more about it. We know that much of the emissions in this country comes from the thermal coal-based thermal power plants. So these are some of the statistics. I think you were pretty well aware of all these things. But what we are trying to look at is, let us understand, why do we have standards? Why do we have norms? See, just a moment, just. Okay, now you see, we have what is our ultimate objective is that we should meet the ambient air quality, because the ambient air, the air which we breathe, and its quality is of utmost important for our well-being and health, good health. So therefore, what is important is this ambient air. And when this ambient air is being influenced by different activities that takes place in, I call it, it takes place in an technosphere. We have different kinds of industry. Let us, for our sake of discussion, let we say that they are the thermal power plants. Then what is important is that the emission is a function of these three variables. One is the production technology, the technology that we use. Suppose that it could be a pulverized fuel, critical, supercritical, ultra supercritical, or I mean all this CFBC, AFBC, all kinds of technology that's being used. So it all depends. There is certain characteristics, emission or emission factor for each technology. Now, even if you have the best of the technology, what is important is how efficiently you are actually operating the plant. So efficiency of a plant is also of importance, because maybe two similar the two plants with same technology, if they operate in different, they have different the efficiency of their emission levels are different. Third is the pollution control technology. What happens to the end of the pipe? What we have done, it like it's essentially like we put ESP or FGT or the NOx burner, low NOx burner, whatever. They are aimed at taking care of the emissions at the before it is discharged to the atmosphere. Now, if you look at this thing, a production technology is it's a long cycle phenomenon. Once you have set up the plant, it's not going to change in the near future till at least end of the life of the plant. But the other things like efficiency and pollution control technology are the two things which we can play and leverage one for the other to see that whether we can accordingly control the emissions. And here we have a standards, emission standards and norms for emissions. Now, once it comes out, once the emission has taken place, then they are in the hands of meteorology, terrain, and atmospheric reaction. Now, we have absolutely no control over this. We don't have, neither we have control over meteorology, nor we can do anything about the terrain where the plant is located, nor we can do anything about the atmospheric reaction. So that means once the emission takes place, ambient air quality is going to be influenced accordingly. That is the reason why we have an ambient air quality standard, National Ambient Air Quality Standard, and we have an emission norm. And we control emission. We try to control the emission norm to see that whether the ambient air quality is in order or within the norms or not. If not, then we try to play around with these two factors. One is efficiency, another is pollution control technology. I mean, that is what we try to do. Now, let us look at the standards. I don't think this needs any sort of explanation. This is just to put you, keep you in mind that these are the standards. We have different standards for different the vintage, different size, and the target date for different plants are different. So it is good that all this is being done. If you look at some of the issues that was raised by the previous speakers about like we want to do it in a phased manner, in a staggered manner. Phased manner is like in terms of time, we want to get it done. So now the time limit is starting from December 22 to December 25. So it's being discussed and see how we are progressing. The targets are phased because we want it to be implemented where it is needed the most. That is in the 10 kilometers of NCR and million plus cities, because ultimately what is in mind is the people's health. So these are the places where the maximum number of people are exposed to bad quality of air. So therefore, I mean, the ultimate objective is to protect the ambient air. So therefore, this standard or this stringent timelines. And these are next priority area, critically polluted area, non-attainment cities. In some cases, I don't think there is any case where a critically polluted area is a million plus city, but there are non-attainment cities which are million plus cities. Now, if there is a non-attainment cities and which is also a million plus city, this is the target still is December 2022. And other areas we have this relaxed target date. So this is the idea behind this is that we are trying to do it include in a phased manner. Now we have been I have been discussing, I mean, there are many forums, formal or informal, and we have been discussing with various power plants, and we see that there are several issues. So this is, I've just listed out some of those issues. There could be many other issues, maybe which will come up during the discussions that will take place. Yes, but hello.
Yes, Mr. Sahoo, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you just let me know if I'm just overstepping my time limit, because I also want that we should have much more discussion. So I will. There are certain technical issues later on which I will show, which was sort of part of my research that I did for how effectively things can be implemented and all that. So anyway, so these are some of the issues, like some say that because of the certain demand, it has resulted in a straight supply chain. There are not enough suppliers, there are not enough vendors, and maybe we have to import a lot of things, so they're not prepared. So we are unable to, in fact, get adequate number of the either EPC contractors or whatever. And there are certain technological uncertainties also associated with the FGDs. We all understand that, well, FGD is not a rocket science. So it's a very common technology, and it can be implemented. In fact, they are being used in Europe and America for quite some time. But then, I mean, this technology needs to be acclimatized to Indian conditions. And each of the power plants actually waiting for the other plants to install this and to see that how does it perform, and see that how this has to be fine-tuned so that the specifications for subsequent installations can be refined. I mean, so everybody is waiting for, everybody is waiting someone to take the lead. I mean, thankful that NTPC has taken the lead, but then we are actually still waiting for a large-scale technology adoption in this regard. There is another issue that says that the FGD it will result in at least 1% increase in auxiliary power consumption. That's an issue because, as I said, that we are talking about because efficiency is one of the factor which determines emission. Now, if by FGD, if we increase 1% auxiliary power consumption, that means we are burning little more coal to produce the same amount of electricity and then causing more emissions. So whatever gain that we get by installing the FGD, if it is being, if it will get, compensated by increased APC, so therefore ultimately we are getting no benefit out of it. And so that is one area, that is one angle, that's one argument that is being advanced. People, I mean, particularly power plants are concerned, mostly utilities are concerned about the penalties and the compensations, which is there in the norm or new standards. So, and they know that well, the capex which is there, which will be there for installation or retrofitting of equipments, I mean, that can be passed on to the tariffs, but not the penalties going to affect. So, in one hand, I mean, they're actually in a crossroad. That is why this delay. That's my feeling. That's why the delay is taking place, and many. And some also argue that the graded timelines which has been given, like for A, B, and C, they have not taken into consideration for the SO2 concentration in the account. Now, I mean, some argue that we should have this equipment. I mean, the priority should be given to a place where the in the ambient air quality, ambient air, the SO2 concentrations are high, and then we slowly move on to the areas where the SO2 concentration are less. Now, having learned that, we try to look at what is the status of ambient air quality in terms of national ambient air quality standard and in terms of WHO standard. WHO is not a standard. Actually, this is a goal. You can see, this is the prevailing goal. You can see that PM 2.5 norm is annual average is 5 microgram per meter cube, and our standard is 40 microgram per meter cube. This is for industrial and residential, and this is for ecologically sensitive area. Now, if you say that our standards are far more relaxed than WHO in terms of PM 2.5, PM 10, even, but NOx and SO2, we are just comparable. So our standards are almost at par with the WHO goal, which is considered as to be a kind of a benchmark for a good health. Now let us look at these standards. The black dotted line that you see here is the WHO goal, and the red one is the National Ambient Air Quality Standard. And these bands show that the air quality of different cities in the country. The air quality monitoring done by the state pollution control boards and data compiled by the Central Pollution Control Board. See, I mean, 90 percentile of the sites of concentration below this limit. So that means in terms of SO2, we are actually far more compatible because we are well below the standard. But that is not the case in terms of PM10. You can see even the entire, I mean, 100% of the cities, the PM10 concentration is higher than the WHO, and almost all are higher than the National Ambient Air Quality Standard. There are perhaps very few cities where it is less than the red line. The red line is next. In terms of NO2, you can see the situation is something like it's again 100% of the cities, they are above the WHO guideline, WHO goal, but almost about 80% of the cities are within the NACs, and there are few who are above it. Now, so this is something, a kind of a mixed bag. In terms of SO2, maybe we are compatible. In terms of PM10, we are absolutely in a very bad condition, and in terms of NO2, we are somewhat in a bad situation. Now, that being the status of the ambient air quality, we looked at whether the policies for efficiency improvement actually can help us in improving the air quality, because that is what we look at ultimately. So we looked at the policy, market-based policy that we have, that is PAT, being advanced by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. I think you all are aware of it. We try to do certain research and certain studies that in what way we are actually, what is the status of our plants, and in what way we can better the performance. And because essentially, if you look at a higher degree of efficiency, will essentially lead to burning of lesser amount of coal, and therefore lesser amount of emission. Now, well, this is a complicated thing to understand. How did we design the study. I'll just skip this for a moment, and then we try to find out answers to these questions, like whether the benchmarking that has been done, which is consistent with plants' performance, whether that's basically we try to understand whether the plants are capable of improving their efficiency or not. So when we try to do this, we used a data envelopment analysis as a technique. It's a technique used for efficiency analysis to find out in case of multiple input and multiple output conditions. Like in simple term, efficiency is simply put like it's output by input. But when essentially what we understood that output input should be in the same unit. But this data envelopment analysis is capable of capturing material, capital, labor, manpower, everything in one system, and this can give you a sort of overall efficiency analysis. What we try to look at is we try to find out what are the inefficiencies inherent in our thermal power plants. So we took data. We collected data from 71 thermal power plants across this country of different sizes. We analyzed them in a different. So the graph that you see is actually inefficiency, because essentially we found out efficiency, and 1 minus efficiency is the inefficiency, because we were interested in that. And you can see these are all plants. Suppose higher is the blue line, that means this particular plant, say let us say plant 4 has high level of managerial inefficiency but low level of energy use efficiency. Say for example plant 14, high level of energy use inefficiency and low level of managerial inefficiency. So this is why how we actually conducted and you can see that these plants like from 22 onwards till 28, they are highly efficient plants. So what we found that these large power plants have greater degree of efficiency, whereas the small and mediums have got a greater degree of inefficiency in a sense. And there are actually certain areas, certain plants where the managerial efficiencies are quite significant. Why we try to do this? It's like, so that this gives an insight that it is possible to improve the efficiency by improving the managerial practices of a plant. So this is some some finding of that. That time we predicted that there will be there are some inefficiencies which can be very easily compensated. Therefore, there will be more number of more certificates, then there will be less of number of buyers. So what we found that targets for the less efficient plants are most actually where low performing plants have targets less than their potential, and targets for more efficient plants are relatively more stringent. So we found that there are certain amount of irrationalities. So it's possible that this can be adjusted. This was, in fact, this was also recognized by BE in subsequent cycles, and this was taken care of. And what is more important, we found that overall managerial inefficiency accounts for 24% of the system inefficiency. So this is one area which I think it's possible, it's worth pondering over, that by simply looking into the way they manage their plants, we can get 24% of system. If we can manage to handle this 24%, then that may result in something reduction in emission by about 20 to 30%. Then the next one was actually, this is usually what happens when we are talking of this implementing the standards. Usually we see that when we talk to the CEOs and the person who takes decision on making investment, they look into various aspects. So they're also looking whether what will be the coal price, what will be the tariff, and how the certificate price is going to influence their investment decision, or they are also looking at that, is it worth investing FGD? Even taking a decision for a deferred investment also means that that's a investment decision. Okay, I'll just wait and see that if I can delay it by about a year or so, then I mean that within 1 year you make sufficient money to you may save sufficient money, and maybe you can make your company more, you can bring benefit to your stakeholders in the company. So I mean there are many other things actually that goes around in the mind of the company or the head of the company. So what we try to find out different questions. Well, this is a influence diagram that involves various cash flow, all various options we examine, whether somebody thought of that, can I manage to achieve that emissions by using clean coal? Can I manage to have simply by purchasing PAT certificates? Or if I can manage or if I have to make certain investment for retrofitting. So all these things, we try to put them in an influence diagram, and each one of them in fact influences other. Suppose like if you are improving your efficiency by purchasing clean coal, maybe you spend a little more, you pay a certain premium for clean coal, but you also save certain amount in less amount of transportation because you manage with less amount of coal because of increased efficiency. Similarly, I mean, this is a very, I try to show it in a very simple way, but this is quite exhaustive. And we took two plants, one small plant and a larger plant. They are real plants, but then I've just said I don't want to disclose the name of these plants. But these are the norms and actual data that we have. We put them into a decision tree for different plants to see and put this cash flow situation of both these plants and try to look at that how do they are looking at it. That means this is a plant which are actually looking at that if this is the kind of investment that is required for achieving compliance, as long as the investment is less than this, he will find it that, well, it is worth investing. But if his investment is more than this, if his FGD or anything that is more than this, then he would try to wait and watch, because it's going, I mean, he's not very sure whether he's going to get back his money, because he's also he's not certain about what will be the tariff, what would be the efficiency, the certificate price, and all other things. So there is more, they move towards this, or the higher the investment requirement, he will have more uncertainties in his mind. Similarly, for plant B, it's a different figure, but the same thing. We try to do it for other, like if what kind of decision they will take for clean coal, using clean coal. If it is clean coal, then he say that, well, the premium is something like this. If the premium is more than this, then he'll try to do it. If the premium is less, he will use clean coal, and so on. So these are some of the findings. That is what we try to show. And these are the strategic reasons. Like if the certificate price is more than this and the clean coal premium is more than this, then this is the strategic area. This is what this is like they would go for retrofitting. If not, I mean, if it is in this zone, the preferable option is using clean coal. if in this zone, they would rather prefer to do nothing and buy certificates and continue. So this is the study for the other plant. I mean, different plant will show different scenario or different strategy reason what they're going to see. And in this condition, what we see that even for the FGDs or NOx burner, whatever the investment that is required, each one is actually waiting, because they are not very certain of, there is a high level of uncertainty that prevails in the mind of the investor. They're looking at that. Let us look at, they're also hoping that, well, the standards can be extended. They're also hoping that perhaps the penalties which we will be able to absorb, it's better to pay the penalty rather than investing the huge amount for huge amount on a technology about which we are not sure of the outcomes we're not sure whether it is actually going to result it, or because they have not seen it happening in a large number. There is a critical value, like any adoption of technology or the technological diffusion. For example, in mobile phones, if you have seen that the mobile phones, when it started coming initial few years, there are very few users, and when the users were few, the others were also not very sure that whether how useful it is going to be. Is it worth spending that much of money to buy a mobile phone, or is it worth paying that much of rentals or the money to the carrier companies? Now, once it crossed a certain threshold volume, then suddenly we saw a boom in the mobile phone market. So similarly, we are also thinking of something like this here. We want, because everybody is watching and seeing that how they're not very sure how this is going to work. They're actually thinking both way, that it's possible the standards can be extended, the standards can be relaxed. There are several problems, because on the other hand, everybody knows that it's also the government's duty to provide electricity to every household, and we still have many households or many families, they have still not received the electricity, have not reached them. And there are, I mean, if you're looking at a growth, GDP growth rate of 6% to 7%, I mean, the demand for electricity is also going to, proportionately growing in the coming years. Now, so there is a tremendous demand, tremendous pressure for electricity generating companies to produce electricity. So the government also has the other one. So that is where actually the trick lies, how effectively it is going to help. Now, these are some of the policy implication, and so these are the findings of this finding of the study that we did. That is not very happens. It's not moving. Okay. Okay. I mean, that's. Well, we know, I mean, whatever our study suggested, that in fact it happened that way. In cycle one, price fell down, and in subsequent cycle it actually increased. And we know I mean, there are several studies. IEA study suggests that by 2040, the PAT scheme itself can result in 20% of carbon dioxide and 14 to 16% of SO2 and NOx. So that means this we can achieve even without installing FGD. That is one possibility, but that is not. It could be used as a low-hanging fruit. We can, I mean, could be one of the basis for that. And but it's what we find, that there is it's possibility by using both these policy, we should be able to reduce SO2 emissions as well. So we have a second thought. I mean, that is my personal opinion. We have a second thought, because what is important in emission is not the concentration, it is the mass, like kg per meter cube or things like that. So if it is possible that we can think of a certain standard in a medium term, which can say that, well, we should reduce the quantity of sulfur dioxide. So that reduction can be achieved by improvement in efficiency, because the FGD doesn't improve the efficiency. FDG, in fact, add 1% of about 1% of auxiliary power consumption, which affects the efficiency in a negative way. So, I mean, it's possible, but concentration is equally important. So it's possible that we can think of a standard which is mass-based, and we should look at sulfur dioxide in a different way. Like because for sulfur dioxide, we have enough room. As I showed in one of my slides, that what is our sulfur dioxide concentration in ambient air in different cities. So it's also one of the possibility, because we we can actually play around with different options. We can afford to do that. We can't do that in terms for PM10 or PM2.5, but we certainly can do that with the sulfur dioxide. Well, there are certain argument and certain theories that says that the sulfur dioxide, the reason for low sulfur dioxide concentration in our cities are because the sulfur dioxide due to atmospheric reaction becomes sulfate and gets converted into PM2.5. So it is captured in PM2.5. Well, if that is the case, then certainly sulfur dioxide concentration is an important parameter. So this is something, I mean, I'm trying to tell you different aspect, different phases of these standards. One is there is this urgent need of a standard because of from human health point of view. There is a tremendous demand for electricity generation, and there are uncertainties in technology and the outcome of the technology, new technology that is required to be implemented by the thermal power plants. So they are in a dilemma. The regulators are also under pressure, and then these are the two things. So this is the total scenario. So let us, I mean, it's open to everyone to see that what comes forward, or how soon we should be able to implement these standards, or we should rather implement a standard which is rational, more rational. So that is what, I mean, all I had to say. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, then I'm ready to reply to these questions.
Mr. Chandrasekhar, over to you. And in the meanwhile, to all the attendees, please do share your questions in the Q&A box or the chat box so we could take it up with this panel.
Thank you. I was also looking into the chat box whether anybody is putting any question answer, but looks like nobody has done. But I request for all the other other programs, please use this chat box so that we also know what exactly are the question answers. Notwithstanding, Mr. Sahoo sir, excellent presentation. For a long time, I have not seen such a clear and crisp presentation. Needs clapping. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I have only very few questions to you. How do you see the state utilities, state power plants, adopting to any technology like this, and knowing very well, that they are always under some financial stress? Do they still have to wait for state support for that? That is question number one. Number two is we have several power plants which either doesn't have any PPA or have a part PPA. All those projects which are on a limping PPA, how do they compete when FGD is commissioned in the MOD scale? How do they compete? Because they have to compete with those state utilities which are still not thinking about setting up a FGD. So that is question number two. And question number three is what you think should be the role of Coal India into all these things? Because we have been listening about washeries and all those blah blahs, and we always get H grade coal, hardly, very rarely we get D grade coal for thermal power plant. Forget about C and B and C. So how do you perceive the idea of putting Coal India into this entire exercise of zero emission?
First of all, about the state utilities. In Orissa, we have I think only one state utility, that is OPGC, and they are in fact going ahead with installation of FGD. But what I feel that they are going to miss the target, of course. They are in category B, so they should. But anyway, I'm hopeful that they will do it. Now, the state utilities depends on that what is the structure of those state utilities in operation. For example, in Orissa, we don't have any state utility which is 100% state-owned. So we have, the one that we have, I think the state has 51 and there's 49 other percent. So it's being influenced. If you look at the structure of the company, a pure state utility company and a company like this, 4951 and all that, said they would have a different philosophy. They operated in a different philosophy. So it all depends on which company and how they are going to take that risk, because everybody see it as investment risk, and that investment risk, they want to, everyone would like to delay it as far as possible. And in the whole thing, that who can take the risk? It is the for a company like NTPC, they have them. I mean, but just by looking at their scale, looking at their structure, they can take that risk and they can go ahead. I mean, so even if a few crores are lost in the process and all that, so it's okay for them. So they can take that risk. That is one aspect. The second one you spoke about.
Tariff versus
second
order
one was,
dispatch. Tariff versus merit order dispatch.
Yes,
or a non-PPA.
Yes. So I think, well, the one who doesn't have a PPA or a part PPA or whatever, he knows, because right from my feeling is right from the beginning, he wants to play in open market. Now there are risks associated in the open market as well. So he is pretty aware of it, and I think they're smart enough to find somewhere there. I mean, I don't think I'm too competent, but what I can understand, I perceive them as very smart companies. They know how to play around in the market, and perhaps if there are too much of uncertainties, then the market will behave accordingly, and they'll try to find best out of it. But well, there is also a trick, or the risk is that if you can't really do it, then some of the companies their bottom lines will be hit. There's no doubt about it. So I mean, put them in that group. That is my view on that. And the third one is about role of Coal India. Well, coal quality is really an issue for many of the plants. In fact, the study that I showed, their coal quality and coal supply reliability are also two factors of uncertainties we considered. And we found that, well, it plays a role. It actually plays a role in determining the efficiency and the things like that. So there has to be the kind of current mechanism that exists between the coal supplier and coal consumer. The kind of there are certain mechanisms which determines the quality.
Mr. Sahoo, I was thinking that do we not need to look into the FSA agreement now? Because FSA
Definitely
comes from, that fuel supply agreement is an old regime when this environment norms are not that stringent. I think we should put a clause there in the FSA also that they have an equal role to play in meeting the government's requirement.
That is exactly what I was trying to tell you. That I mean, the mechanism is FSA. I mean that right. The FSA determines this is the structure that determines the transaction between the coal supplier and the coal consumer. So whatever has that mechanism, this mechanism definitely has to be restructured, because coal supply reliability, the quality and the reliability, because the person actually, when we were talking about managerial inefficiency, now if you have a group of people always worried, if you are worried about the quality of coal that you are receiving, you are putting a lot of people there to make sure that you are going to get the good quality, right quality of coal. So that adds to inefficiency in a sense. So therefore, definitely we need to look at the structure of FSA. Even I think the PPAs also has to be looked, I mean, in a different perspective. So these are the two things. It's in fact bound to undergo certain changes.
Yeah, including the load dispatch center, who are purely going by a merit order dispatch. They should give certain leverage to those plants who have already installed FGD, so that their ratings are separately calculated, so that they unnecessarily don't get into the stress of supplying power because their costs are high. So having implemented the FGD or any environmental norm, they should get a priority over those people who have not done. Probably that may incentivize many people to come forward.
That is perhaps, I'm not sure of now, but then what I think is the compensation or the penalty, which will act as I mean, if you So that will act as an deterrent. So now that a company who is paying certain compensation, he would rather like to withdraw and take a shutdown rather than going forward if the market is not very conducive. If the market is conducive, he can see that he is earning enough margin and he won't mind paying the compensation. He still can participate in the market. But if it is not, then he would try to withdraw and underplay and do something like this. And there, the units which has an FGD would have certain age. That is perhaps. But right now, I'm not sure whether that 10 paisa, 5 paisa, whatever would be enough to act as a deterrent or an incentive. That's my take on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sahoo. It has been wonderful to interact with you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sahoo,
Thank you.
one or two small questions. Can I
Sure.
ask, sir, some questions?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sahoo, sir, you being part of government and you have done such a thorough, study and made a great presentation. Mr. Chandrasekhar has already clapped for it. We have not seen many such presentation by a government official. You have not left a single point which you have not covered. My question is, you yourself say that by PAT, some more audits, SO2 is going to be reduced, NOx is going to be reduced. And recently we discovered through IIT Delhi a report that wet lime FGD is going to add a lot of CO2. These are the two discoveries which should have probably happened because you all are scientists, Ministry of Power, MOEF and CC, all great people worked on this policy and came out with this policy, right? And after the implementation of policy, we have seen a very slow speed of progress. Definitely some reason for slow progress can be attributed to Corona and lockdown and all those. But definitely there is no interest among power generator to add this liability. NTPC is an exceptional company for the many reasons are well known. Now my question is there any window, is there any process to have a mid-review to think whether it is worth proceeding, whether some of the project can be exempted? Is there any process happening among government? Because no point, implementing all the FGDs and then you have a gypsum issue, then sellability of quality of gypsum, limestone, and already wherever the FGDs are implemented, I have seen myself, the plant conditions are a hell. Plant conditions are very bad because we are not going to have 100% vacuum and automated system for these limestone unloading, loading, gypsum. So definitely it is going to add some more havoc to the life of all the living things and plant in and out of the plant. So why are we again beating the bush and talking about achieving the target and all those ABC? Why not there is a mid-term review and take a different call altogether? This is my question.
Well, yeah, thank you, Prabhaji. Yeah, actually, what happens? This policy or standards, they did not come overnight. These standards, it was the standard usually are notified as a draft for consultation.
I don't think it was done. If I remember correctly,
it was done.
It was done.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the first version of the standards, which has a different target altogether, was done. It was open for consultation for 6 months. I'm not sure because I'm not privy to what is happening in the Ministry of Environment Forest, but the subsequent notification which came, it clearly states that a notice for consultation window was open for 6 months. Now, after that, the standard was prescribed. After the standard was prescribed, perhaps I think perhaps the first instance when it was open for consultation, not many people they actually noticed it, or they didn't think that it's going to affect them in any way. So I mean that somehow or other, that is my feeling, personal feeling. But once it was there, it was notified, then suddenly everyone started to see that, well, there is a liability. And thereafter, a mid-level review also took place. A lot of consultation took place between Ministry of Power and Ministry of Environment and Forest. And because all these issues that we are saying, we are saying that it should not be applied to all the plants in an equal manner, because some plant is worse off and some plant is better off in terms of the environmental setting that they have around them. That means, well, a plant in Delhi and a plant in mid forest of somewhere, they should not be, put into same kind of stringency. So, I mean, having said that, so all these matters were discussed, and the outcome is a different standard which came in 2015 that we are currently talking about. I mean, before that, there was a standard came up. So it was being reviewed. And even now, today, these standards, what are the issues, challenges that is taking place? They are also actually through Ministry of Power, through the CEA, is capturing these issues. What are the difficulties and what are the things going on? And whatever they think that are relevant, they are being also discussed with the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So those things are continuously going on. I mean, as long as we actually achieve a significant level of compliance, these kind of things will always go on. But then, like any negotiation, it is either Ministry of Power or Ministry of Environment and Forest, they would try to stick to their position. I mean, it happens in any negotiation. I think you all are part of some negotiation or other at some point of time in your career. So that is how it takes place. So it all depends that how forcefully or how
understand,
convincingly the Ministry of Power. Yeah. So
Thank
I mean, so it's going on. It's going on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sahoo. Since we are running behind time, I would request all the participants to raise their questions on the chat box, and we would certainly like to reply as and when during the proceeds of the deliberation today and tomorrow. And I would just ask Shreya to take it over and see that the next session starts.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chandrasekhar. Thank you so much, Mr. Sahoo. Thank you, Mr. Verma. Thank you for the time and for making it to our this discussion and for sharing that lovely presentation and detailed insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.